Everyone. All right, well, we'll start the meeting then. Public forum, I guess not.
Should we call the roll first?
Yes, please.
I guess we usually don't do that, but Karen Berger,
Here.
just like here. Susan Riblet.
Here.
Mitch Nellis.
Here.
Great.
George Smith.
Yep, here.
Dennis Adams.
Yep.
And David Brighton. David is not with us at the moment. So let's start.
All right. So I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes, or if any of you have changes, let's hear them.
Can I just interject for 1 minute, Dennis? We
Please.
did have 2 more people let in from the waiting room, and I wanted to make sure that neither of them were here for the public forum.
Okay, sure. Public forum, anyone? Okay, thanks, Karen. Great. So I'll hear a motion to approve the minutes. All in favor? And me too. So we approve the minutes as standing. We have no presentations, I see. So let's head to 10P02-20. Application of Michael Cromer, preliminary final site plan approval for the fire damaged single family home at 69 Rock Hill Road.
I'm not sure if there's anybody in the audience who wants to speak to this. But basically, very simple situation that we got here. A house at 69 Rock Hill was burned by fire, and they have decided they are going to rebuild on the existing foundation with some slight modifications. What you have on your screen now is the previous house site plan, and then if you move down one, Brett, we have the proposed house, and you can see there's a smaller bump out to the rear from the existing, but for the most part, nothing's changing. I'm just going to, besides a couple little modifications in the footprint, rebuild on the existing foundation. Anybody have any
Comments?
comments?
Yeah,
No comment.
anyone? No comments. Well, I guess that's where we are, Rick.
Okay, no comments.
All right, so we'll move on to 8P03-20, the Brighton Garden Apartment revised plans. And I believe we were asking to see where the drainage lines were. And
Yeah, let me just give you a little quick background. I believe we have somebody here who's going to talk on the project.
okay, good.
But just that this was tabled at the planning board. They have planned to remove the carports due to some structural issues, and went to the zoning board. Zoning board approved their right to remove the carports, but they did condition it. One of the major conditions was that it needed to have their landscaping screening plan approved by both the conservation board and the planning board. So I believe they're here to discuss that proposed screening plan.
All right,
Carol?
please.
Oh, hello. I didn't know I had to unmute
Go
myself.
ahead, yeah.
Okay, you first mentioned drainage.
Could you just introduce yourself to the board, please?
Oh, I'm Carol Harvey. I'm a civil designer at Passero Associates.
All right, thank you, Carol.
You're welcome. To speak to the drainage, after removing the carports, I don't have any. Oh, okay, here we go. Thank you. We really haven't changed anything. Everything flowed off the rear building, off the roof, right onto the ground. So when that's removed and we have the parking lot there, it's simply going to be the same thing. It's going to sheet drain out into that big lawn area and infiltrate into the lawn. The parking garage to the north toward the building, we've added a couple of inlets here.
Mhm.
So things are going, that drainage is going to be caught by those inlets and go into the existing system.
All right, questions from the board?
Yeah, can you just go through the actual landscaping plan that you're proposing there for
Yes.
screening purposes?
Yes, that would be the first sheet, the site plan.
Right there.
Yes, thank you. I did visit the site to assess what was there and also to assess the condition of the fence because there were some concerns about the fence being in disrepair. So on this plan, I've noted several areas where some missing pieces need to be put back in down at the rear southeast and up on the northwest on the side property line. The fence is leaning, so we've noted to have that uprighted.
But if you just could pan out a little bit, yeah.
Oh,
Just-
do I have control of this or do you?
no. I'm
Oh,
talking
okay.
to somebody who has the control. There
Okay,
you go. Just kind of leave it
All
right
right.
there.
Okay.
That's good.
okay. Also, I had a good look at the trees along the fence and on the sides of the property. Most of them are quite large. Nice trees, but there wasn't any understory there. So what I did was add some medium to large shrubs there to help to block the headlights and keep that from going onto Newcastle Drive and shining onto those properties there. Otherwise, there's some nice big trees along the fence. They seem to be in good condition. I added some evergreens, a mix of evergreen, forsythia, and quince. They are flowering shrubs. The yews are evergreen. They are dense and not going to get more than 8 to 10 feet high. So they're going to fill in there and make like a nice solid screen for those properties to the south.
All right, any questions from the board about that? Okay, Carol, I guess not.
Okay, thank you very much.
Are the board members happy with what is proposed? Again, remembering that it's going to be a much more traffic, car lights shining towards the neighboring properties. Do you feel that this proposed landscaping screening will basically provide that that shielding of the lights?
I do, in combination with the fence, which is a solid wood board fence, and the addition of all these shrubs. Also, the new lights that we propose do not shine over there. They have cutoff shields in the back and shine only toward the building. So I feel that their privacy will be maintained quite well.
Questions from the board? Are we happy with this plan overall then in all respects?
Did I note that bicycle parking facilities have been added to the plan?
Yes, they have. Over on the east side of the building, in the rear, there's a little, near the one of the exits. It says bike racks.
Good.
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 Yeah, good question, Christine.
Yep, we got right in there.
I'm happy with the the planting of the evergreens and hedgerows and stuff, and I just want to make sure is there ever a plan to revisit them? I notice, a lot of times when hedgerows get planted, there's a few that don't survive, or the evergreens, they can be finicky depending on the soil. Is there, I guess, a plan to come back and make sure that all of them have doing well and surviving?
We can certainly note that on the plan. And nursery plants typically come with a 1 to 2 year guarantee.
Okay.
So they can be replaced.
I'll also add, Mitch, that as part of the condition from the zoning board, they did place a condition that this landscape screening must be maintained in perpetuity. So if there is any complaints from neighbors, if somebody were to go out and look at and see that it was, there were dead spots, that they could go back from the zoning board approval and make them, maintain what's there. So we do have that.
All right, thank you, Rick. Anyone else? Nope. Are we happy then with this plan in all respects? I don't see a show of hands here, so it's not on my screen. So, all right. Now I see you all. Are we all happy with this? All right, me too. Thank you so much, Carol.
Thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
All right, and then we'll conclude as far as the old business in 190120. The new house on property located west of the intersection of Clover Street and Greenaway Road. Woodlot permit modification. I did not get any plans showing what changes had been made. So would you describe those, please, Rick?
Yeah, if you guys remember, back in September, we saw this.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
They wanted to take out additional about 70 trees from what was originally approved.
Yeah, clear cut.
basically clear cut, leaving some of the trees along the edges. And that wasn't, this board and also the planning board did not look favorably on that. They have come back with this modified plan, which we can put up, where they have decided that they're going to save 23 maybe trees of those original, I think it was original 90 that were going to be removed. So what they did was they brought the clearing limit line in. So some of those trees on the outer edges of the clearing limit are now supposed to be maintained. So it's better than what they proposed last month, but is it still what we approved back in January for the construction of the house? Brett, if you go down one page, we can get the site plan back on there. It shows the house location. Originally, it was the trees that were being removed from the footprint area of the house, and a few other ones that would be, in direct competition with the driveway and the foundation were originally approved to be removed. And now they want to remove everything else within that clearing limit line. Again, less than what they wanted to do last month, but still quite a bit more than what they did originally.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know if there's anybody in the audience who wants to talk to this application.
No.
Have they provided a rationale for removing the trees? Is it for aesthetics or?
I thought I forwarded over you guys. It might have been yesterday. This application, and they had a letter basically explaining what they were doing, that they were modified. That list right there that you see on your screen, those are the trees that they have decided to save. Those are the 21 trees that were
Mhm.
originally planned to be removed, and now they're saving them. The 70 trees are earmarked to be removed from the site. Originally, I think it was in the 20 something.
Mhm.
So
Rick, sorry, just to clarify, when we originally saw this, it was 20 something that had been approved to be removed.
originally, back in January, with the construction of the house, the planning board approved for about 23, maybe 25 trees to be removed with the construction of the house. And last month, they came back and said, no, we want to remove 90 some odd trees. And that was, again, we reviewed it. We weren't very happy with it. I can read our comments to you. The board sees no justification for basically clear cutting the lot. The applicant was aware of the property's woodlot EPOD classification and submitted and received approval for a site plan that minimized tree removal for the construction of a new house. Tree removal should be limited to that as was originally approved. Then there was no mitigation proposed for the removal of the additional trees. Removal of trees to make room for soil stockpile is unwarranted. So those are our 3 comments that went back to the planning board last month. Now they did include a mitigation plan with this. Brett, I think it was the first page of this application. If you could pan up.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's the mitigation plan. So they're adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm not sure exactly how many they're adding. I think it says in that letter. Go to the beginning of that letter. I think they talked about a mitigation plan. I'm sorry, I had it sitting on my desk and I don't know where it went.
So what I see in their letter is that we'd originally approved them in August of 2019 to remove 19.
And then those that you're showing in highlighted were the 20 plus trees that were earmarked for removal last month, but they've taken out and they're going to save those trees. But if you go back to the top of that letter, Brent. Which included 5 large oak trees. So the question is now that they have limited the removal, but they're still asking for quite a bit. They have some justification in this overview regarding some of the trees are in bad shape. But some they're expecting that's going to be stressed by the construction activities, although the arborist definitely states that that is speculation. So there are a number of trees that are coming out on speculation.
Yeah, I'm uncomfortable with them wanting to remove 24 trees that have this secondary justification that it's speculation.
Yeah.
I think that's just because I feel like they're wanting some leeway because they went to 90 and now they're giving 20 back. But I think still I feel concerned by the fact that this secondary is by the subjective removals.
And really, to go back to our original primary point, they knew what the lot was like, and they proposed a plan that we approved, and now they don't want to live up to it. And I really can't, I find it difficult to give them a pass on this.
What if we basically start that as our comment, like we did the last time,
Yes,
but also in the alternative, possibly, that we can understand somewhat regarding the primary trees being removed, and that the mitigation plan that they're proposing should mitigate the loss of the primary trees, but no sense should we allow for the subjective trees to be removed.
yes.
And we're kind of giving them a little bit that maybe there are some bad trees on that site that should get removed. But those are the ones that the arborist has basically said are the primary ones. All right, if you're going to take those down, then you got to provide the mitigation plan that you're proposing, that you have attached.
Could we agree on that? I'd like to hear from more of you on this.
If not, we can stick with our original comments that we did last month and just reiterate it.
I think that wording would be good. That's,
What wording, George? The in the alternative, allow them to just only take down the primary trees, provided that they mitigate it with the plan submitted?
yeah, I think so. I mean, that was the original plan. I think we should.
No. Well, this isn't, the original plan going back was only the 20 some odd trees.
No, well, yeah, I mean, yes. No, I mean, Dennis's modification sounds good. I mean, primary trees, yes. Mitigation, yes. Secondary trees don't seem justified.
Okay. All right, I got what you're saying. Anybody else?
I don't have any problem with them taking the opportunity to do construction or remove trees that are in poor health. I mean, you don't want to have to worry about that after you have a house up.
Yeah.
I know that I've disagreed in the past too. I don't personally have an issue with invasive species being removed, but I know that you guys have differing feelings on it. Mm-hmm. I think preferential tree, if we're going to remove trees and they're going to press on it, or even, I'm reading this, they're talking about Norway maples and white mulberry. I don't have a problem with them showing preferential treatment to removing those.
No, I agree with you, Mitch. I have no objection to removing invasive species.
But that seems inconsistent with the fact that 2/3 of the secondary trees that we're saying they shouldn't remove are invasive species. Right. So how do you reconcile that?
And we're still in an EPOD district too. I remember we're in an EPOD district. EPOD districts have invasive species in them.
Yes. What among those secondary trees, how many of them are invasive?
About 2/3, I think it said in the text of their letter.
All right.
It says 16 or 66% are non-native invasive species, Norway maple and white mulberry.
So I would be willing to accept a modification which took out the invasive species, but I see no reason for taking any others out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so you're saying that you would allow the invasives to go, so we're talking about a total
That's
of,
allowing 60 trees. It's around
So
60
it says-
trees.
Yeah, I don't know about that though. I mean, if you're going to go around town of Brighton freely and removing invasive trees, you're going to pretty much strip the town of a lot of its larger trees. You know, invasive, I mean, Norway maples are clearly the #1 forest.
True.
You know, but this isn't a natural forest. I guess I don't, the problem I have as much is that I don't trust them. If you start leaving the door open for removing trees that are, you know, they're sick and dying, you know, ones that are just out there, no danger of falling on the house or anything like that. You know, if you say, well, you can take out the ones that are sick and dying, oh, you can take out the invasives. I think you basically have just given them a sort of free rein to go out there and cut whatever. I mean, nobody's going to be checking that carefully, are they? I mean, do we really trust them that if you start saying, well, this is okay, but not, you know, do we actually trust that it's going to be done in any way that's consistent with what we want?
That's good point,
I'd get a little concerned if we gave them the right to go take a invasive species out, and they just like cut anything they want. And just, oh, it was invasive.
Right, and if those Norway maples are reasonably healthy, I mean, we have one in the backyard, it is full of squirrels and birds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they are sucking up CO2 like we want them to.
I think you're changing my mind with your comments. Thank you.
So I would be good with the amendment that they can take out trees that are obviously not healthy, but beyond that, they should stay.
All right, so basically we'll kind of reiterate what we said the first time. But in the alternative, we would allow for or be okay with the removal of the primary trees, no removal of the secondary, what do they call them, the subjective trees, and that the mitigation plan must be implemented due to the fact of the primary tree removal.
I wonder if it's also worth adding something. They said in their letter that they talked about the threat to the secondary trees by the construction practices, and that they should be doing construction practices that minimize the risk to those trees.
Yes. Good addition, Karen.
I wouldn't want them to say, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, don't encourage them to get careless, right? Very good.
Are we good with that?
Sure.
Yes, would you read it back for me, please, Rick, and just make sure we're all on board.
Yeah, the best I can. I'm going to basically lead off with some of the stuff that we talked about last month about the board sees, you know, no justification for basically clear cutting the lot. The applicant was aware of the property's woodlot classification, submitted and received approval of the site plan, minimize tree removal for the construction of a new house. However, if the board can understand the need to remove some of the, I'll call them primary trees, the subjective trees should be maintained. Mitigation plan shall be implemented with the removal of the primary trees. And then I'll also have a comment that construction practices should be undertaken that minimize the risk to the subjective trees.
Good.
Words to that effect, I'll put it together.
Excellent, Rick. Thank you. Are we all comfortable with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Very good. So we'll move on. Do we have an EMC report?
The last EMC meeting was sort of a roundtable, not really a whole lot of note discussed, just potential for future topics to talk about, basically.
Okay, thanks, Mitch. Green report? No green report?
I think it's worth noting that the CCA was approved for the town. So thank you, town board and supervisor. And there will be meetings about it in October and November. So that's exciting that we'll have easy access to renewable electricity.
Good. Staff report?
No report.
Okay. New business, old business. All right, the tree removals, a lot of these are pretty easy when they're dead. It doesn't give us much to talk about. But we do have Norway maple, which is split on Claiborne Road. And we have a wind damaged pear on Hampshire Drive. Comments about those?
I think the Hampshire one may be gone.
Mm-hmm.
I drove by and
Yeah, the
saw it.
Hampshire one, the Hampshire one might have been an emergency removal,
Okay.
Okay.
or, you know, maybe not. It is dead tree, so it might be gone
All
already.
right. So could I have a motion to accept the arborist's proposal, or do we
Dennis?
want any?
Dennis, I
Please.
just have one comment.
Yes,
That first tree on Babcock, I
yes.
think it's dead because it's right next to another tree, so the replacement obviously should not go right there.
Okay, yes, a good point. Thank you, Susan.
Yeah.
So you want to see a replacement tree? Is there space, Susan,
Yeah,
nearby?
there should
Okay.
be space
A lot of
along.
times I think they would probably do that, but we can certainly.
You would hope, but yeah.
Yes. Accordingly. So all the trees, 3 Babcock, 2 on Claiborne, the 2 on Delaware Avenue, 1 on Shalimar, and the one on Hampshire were all good for removal and replace.
Yeah.
Yes.
One of the ones on Claiborne, I don't know if they'll assess whether or not they want to replace it. It's awful close to the driveway. I think there's better places to put another tree, but should we note that, or will they figure that out when they go to plant them?
Don't know.
I just know they don't. Lately, I've been doing some permitting, and they try not to plant too close to the driveway. And I know there's 2 that are dead. There's 1 in between. There'd be better places to put a tree a little further down. So maybe assess location.
Yeah. I think they're doing that, Mitch.
Okay.
But again, I'm not 100% positive.
Okay.
Anything more from anyone?
A couple of questions actually related to the tree inventory.
All right. Please, George.
And, and Brett's here, so we can answer questions related to how that can be handled by the town if you have any questions. But the idea of doing a tree inventory, the tree survey is functional. You can download the app, use it, but we never finalized the questions. How are we going to start? Where are we going to start? And what is the best way of handling the tree sticks, the materials and the training? A month has gone by. We've had a month of school now, and it's a little clearer how things are going. And the one thing that becomes pretty clear to me is that we don't have after school activities, except for relatively few that are allowed. And mine not being that one of them. So the idea that we could easily enlist students in this process, it's just not going to work the way we had in mind. I can't do it, and I can't do it. It's not allowed. Plus, it's explicitly being prohibited. So
George, is your activity not allowed due to health safety restrictions, or because the program is not funded this year?
both.
Got it.
Each of those being a reason. I mean, each of those being a reason by itself that would be a problem, but the fact that I'd like to be able to explain that there's been a consistent way of bringing back activities, after school activities. It doesn't seem to be consistent with anything other than somebody just decided which ones to allow, which ones not to allow. There's some relationship to infection control, but bringing back sports as opposed to clubs and activities that have a direct curricular link, that was decided. So if it's prohibited related to infection control, it's prohibited, and that's I can complain about these things, but I can't lose my job over them, essentially.
Right.
It's just kind of the issue. So I'm sort of up against it in that regard, and the degree to which I can work with kids, just through the town, which is what I've been doing this summer, as far as moving these things along. It's not going to enlist large numbers of kids. Plus, we can't really bring together. None of that was based on bringing together large groups of kids. So I'm feeling a little bit stuck, quite honestly. But I would like some ideas as far as how we might go about this related to getting a little bit of a start this fall while we still have some leaves on the trees and can do something. I think that in terms of our longer term goal of completing a tree survey such that we have one that is, we can use the data in the iTreat program. It's clearly critical to being able for the town to be able to apply for any sources of external funding related to the urban forestry stuff. So I think it's really important to start. How much we can do, probably not too much in terms of like number of trees or large areas.
George, could we possibly connect your or reimagine your program as a recreation department program and recruit and organize under that aegis?
Sure. That would get around a lot of problems, actually.
Yeah. We can pass this through to Becky Cotter, and they are looking for productive programs that that can happen in spite of restrictions, and this is certainly one that could.
Mm-hmm. That's a great idea.
All right, I'll follow up with that email.
Okay, well, thank you. But what is clear is that we're not the original idea of being able to use the neighborhoods right around the school and get groups of kids that would fan out and do sort of the close accessible things in any sort of quick and any quick fashion or in any way, like serving a lot of trees quickly. Still left with the question of how exactly to handle some of the training and also just the equipment, the tree sticks and stuff like that, which there's a little bit of training. I can do that. My hours between the fact as far as when school gets off and the fact that there's no after school stuff makes me available to be able to show people that stuff. But they have to come to me, I guess, is kind of the bottom line. It's probably here where I am now, as opposed to not going to be at school.
Is it possible to have several, or how much equipment do you have, and could you train other people to train people, I guess?
Yes, and I would prefer to do that. And I guess that was my hope all along, is that I could train other people to train other people, including some of you who were interested in doing this.
Yeah. I mean, if we all live in different areas of Brighton, couldn't we all say, this is, if you're going to survey in that area, here's the person you'd want to talk to, they have the equipment, go there, arrange for that, and then sort of diversify it a little bit so it's not all on you.
Sure.
Like maybe get districts, I guess, of Brighton to have supervisors within the districts.
Mm-hmm. Or even at this point, just to have other people who could be identified.
Right.
Who could
it's a lot for one person to take on, so just having somebody else train people and have equipment at the ready would take a load off, I'm sure.
Sure, it would go faster.
Yeah, so maybe a sign up to do that, and then a time to meet with you to figure out how all the equipment works would be good.
Well, and I was wondering, jumping off of what Christine was suggesting, if there could be a rec center event that, say, was at 4 o'clock, meeting outside the high school or something like that, and then whatever small group of people who were there were trained and then went out and, you know, returned to that location.
Yeah, or it could be over at Buckland Park at 4 o'clock on a Saturday or something like that. I mean, that's, I know that there's a real interest in trying to keep things outdoors and dispersed, and not to give the impression of doing anything that is inappropriate related to town activities. So, that would maybe even be a better location for it.
I think that might be optimal and certainly easily coordinated, well, fairly easily coordinated in terms of being able to use the shelters over at Buckland Park Central, and yeah, and doesn't mix it up with the school necessarily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that would make my life a little easier.
Too bad we can't train the cross-country team and then go take pictures and measure while they're out, since they're allowed to be running around the neighborhood.
I don't think that'd allow for a very good cross-country team.
Be a little slow.
Well, if Christine, if you could ask about that, then we could maybe try to schedule something one of these upcoming weekend.
Yep, absolutely. Becky's they're looking to adopt programming on the fly. So I'll get the two of you connected and you can go from there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And if the rest of you simply want to, meet with me to see how it's done, let me know. Come on over.
Dennis, you're on mute. Dennis, you need to unmute yourself. Dennis.
Yeah,
You need to unmute.
got it.
There you
Got it. All right. Do we have anything more for this? This has been a great meeting. I'm delighted with what we've done. No more? All right. I'll hear a motion to adjourn the meeting. And thank you all.
November 10th, our next meeting. Everybody good?
Yep.
Okay,
All right.
great.
Thank you.
Good night, all.
Thank you, everybody.
Good night.
Thanks, Brett.